The Los Angeles Rams and Houston Texans are set for their Week 1 matchup. Both teams have storylines going into this game. In this video, I'm going to talk about my biggest concern. And now I know a lot of people have talked about the injury report for both the Texans. They're going to be missing Joe Mixon. They have a second-round rookie left tackle who's going to be going up against Jared Verse. And from what I hear from Texans, content creators and fans, that sounds kind of what they're looking into. But in this video, I am talking about something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. And all this to say, it's not the injury report, even though I know that's a concern. It's not the chemistry between Matthew Stafford and his receivers, especially Devontae Adams and his tight end, Terrence Ferguson, just because he has missed some time in training camp. It's not that. I actually think the Rams medical team has done a really good job navigating these injuries with Alaric Jackson and Matthew Stafford to set them up for success here week 1. And if they go out and they play well, that's a huge win for the Rams medical team. But all this to say, my biggest concern going into this game is the coaching matchup. And it's not that I think that, DeMeco Ryans or Sean McVay have a particular edge in this matchup. But if you look at the history when Sean McVay has faced DeMeco Ryans, it has not gone well. DeMeco Ryans was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers in the 2021 campaign, which, again, the Rams did beat them when it counted most in the NFC title game. But in the season, Ryan got the last laugh. Also in 2022, when the Rams lost twice to the 49ers, that was another DeMeco Ryans coach team. Now, again, any loss from the 2022 season, just because the Rams were so decimated by injury that year, I do kind of take with a grain of salt to it. But the reality is, DeMeco Ryans is a really good coach, and the Texans have talent. They have great players, like Will Anderson on that defense, CJ Stroud as a third-year quarterback. He could be making some plays. Nico Collins at the wide receiver position. Nick Chubb is going to likely be carrying the load at the running back position, but Pierce is no slouch either. So they do have some weapons that can make some plays. If this is a situation where the Texans can play ball hog and win that field possession game, I could see it not going the Rams' way. That being said, I want to listen into both Coach Sean McVay and Coach DeMeco Ryans and hear their thoughts on this matchup. So first off, head coach DeMeco Ryans, we'll give him the floor here.
Yeah, this game, I think ultimately it as right now as I continue to go through it in my mind, I think it really hinges upon both offensive lines blocking two really talented defensive lines. The Rams have one of the best young defensive lines in the NFL with Burrs, Fisk. Turner, Young. It was a young group, and those guys they get after it.
I like that little smirk that he gives because he respects defensive talent and, game respect game.
They play relentless. They're tough. They're going to be a really, really good group to challenge our offensive line, and the same for their offensive line versus our defensive line. We have a really good group up front under the strengths of our team, and we have to it's going to be a challenge to see how that shapes up, but both offensive lines are going to have to play well, and whoever wins that battle, I think, will ultimately decide the game.
Okay, there's head coach DeMeco Ryan of the Houston Texans saying it's going to come down to the trenches for this. Let's hear what Coach Sean McVay had to say about the Texans when he was asked.
On paper and they're good on tape. So it's, DeMeco's a guy that I've always had a ton of respect for, but, there's a very clear-cut philosophy. They've got the personnel to match how they want to be able to play with the way that their front rolls off the football. They've got dominant players on the second and third levels. They've got elite players on the outside, obviously.
I just point out, I love the contrast of demeanor here, where DeMeco Ryans is a very, well-spoken, very kind of a quiet confidence type of coach to it, where Sean McVay is kind of this ball of energy that wants to motivate a locker room. Not that DeMeco doesn't have that in him as well, but just at least in these particular press conferences, there is a contrast of energy.
Stingley gets much deserved recognition, and I think Lassiter is an excellent corner opposite him. Petries is good of a nickel as there is in terms of the physicality, and then when they get into their base defense, he can play safety. And obviously, their edge guys get it deservingly so a bunch of recognition, and and they have a full rotation of guys inside and outside that we got to be ready to go for. So it's a great defense. You see why all the praise that they get is certainly well earned and deserved, and we got our work cut out for us, and that's what you love.
Sean.
I love hearing coaches talk about other teams like that. And I think there's a lot of respect from both DeMeco Ryans and Sean McVay in these two clips here that I just showed. And I showed them for that reason. I think that, they've spent hours upon hours, months even, because it's week one, of watching each other's teams. And I know week one, there can kind of be some wonky, weird games in the NFL for a lot of different reasons. I do think these are two teams that are coming in relatively prepared. I think it is going to be a close game. Again, my fan bias is totally in this. I think the Rams will win. I don't know if it will be a higher scoring game. When I go back and forth, could I see this being a barn burner? No, I don't. I think this will be like your 24-20 type of game. I don't see it being like a punt fest 9-6 game or 15-10 or anything like that. But I do think this will kind of be that mid-tier scoring game that both the Rams and Texans are going to come out swinging. But yes, my biggest concern going into this game is the coaching matchup, just because DeMeco Ryans is a good head coach. He has talented players to work with. He has a good scheme. And if the Texans gain a lead in this game and just hog the ball, we've seen that kind of being the recipe to win in the modern NFL. That's how the Eagles won the majority of their games last year. And when I look at the Texans, I see them trying to mirror that image a little bit of building their team. Not that the Rams wouldn't want to do that either, but I think that these teams are built similar, but they have different schemes, they have different philosophies. And that is exemplified in both these head coaches. Two great head coaches that I think is probably one of the underrated matchups of this game. But I do fully expect, Stafford to be healthy. I expect them to lean on Kyren Williams. I think Kyren Williams could have a big game. Definitely, you want to start him in fantasy. I know I'm going to, because I use a Rams draft-centric approach, as most Ram fans would. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What are your biggest concerns about this game? Is it the injuries, to A.J. Jackson and Stafford? Or maybe you're concerned about the Rams' young defense. They have some new pieces there, especially at that linebacker position. How's that going to look? Is Nate Landman going to be the free agent signing that, we've kind of expected him to be since he's taken over this green dot role at training camp, team captain? Excited about that. Maybe your concern is more with, just the offensive line in general, and, because Stafford's been out, just the play calling, things like that. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. I am going to predict, though, that the Rams will win this game. You know what? I'll say it. I think they're going to win it by a touchdown. I think it's going to be a 27-20 game in favor of the Rams. And, hopefully we don't have to bring out the defibrillator. I'll be hosting a watch party for this game. I would love to see you there, of course, as always. You can feel free to go to my community tab and post your prediction for who's going to score the Rams' first touchdown of the season. And if you get it right, I give you a shout out during the watch party. Anyway, that's going to do it for me in this video. As always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams. Woo!